Before we begin, please note, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any affiliated organization. The content provided is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. We encourage listeners to conduct their own research and consult with relevant professionals before making any business or career decisions. Enjoy the minisode.
Welcome to Mentored, a new podcast series from the Coffee and Career Chats universe. Ed's not just dropping insights, he's mentoring me live, in public, and unscripted. If you're a founder, a leader, or figuring it out as you go, you're not alone. These minisodes are short, real, and based on real-world experience, not theory. Let's get started.
So we were talking last time also about the strategy. Like Amazon, for example, when they wanted to enter the MENA region, they were shopping around for companies. And they acquired a company called Souk.com, SOUQ.com. And these guys were a marketplace. And they were based in Jordan. They were doing well at that time. And then they decided to acquire them, and that was their point of entry into the Middle East region or through Dubai. So now, from my understanding, there are many cases similar to this that fail. The majority of them, they fail. With the example like Yahoo and Microsoft, right? That was a very famous public failure, which I don't know if that would be, you would consider that a failure or no. But if a company wants to expand and they enter a new market, why should they think about acquiring a company, a local company? And if that's the strategy and they have the money and it's the easiest way to get in, what would qualify the company that they can acquire as the right choice for them in that market? What would be the selection criteria or the qualification criteria? And maybe for the company that wants to enter that market, what's the readiness criteria for them to be acquiring someone? I could have the money, but I might not have the right team on board to do the integration and select the right company and run that company. In many cases in the acquisitions, things could go wrong. So can you please share with us, as an executive, what do they need to look for?
Yeah, those are great. That's a great question, Adel, that I think has several parts, which is going to lead to this very long answer. Let me start by saying, when you have a company, an existing company has had some level of success and is now thinking about growth through acquisition, I think you always come back to the basics of building your business, whatever size that business happens to be, from startup to much, much later stage, even public companies. I think in your mind's eye, you have to think about strategy on one side of your equation and execution on the other side. So when you build a strategy and you're thinking about acquisition as part of that growth, I would encourage every executive to be very clear about their mission for their business, their vision for their business, and their values for their business. They need to be very clear about, where are they going to play and how are they going to win? So if you're going to play in Dubai versus play in Saudi versus play in Oman, what does that look like? How do you describe that? You then start to get into very specific elements of your strategy. Are you going to grow organically? Are you going to grow through acquisition? What are the drivers of value that you're trying to achieve through that growth? What does your customer need because of that growth? And you might be acquiring a company to satisfy a customer need. At least I hope you are. Otherwise, why would you acquire the business? You might be acquiring a company to get more capabilities into your own organization. What are those capabilities? Is it product management? Is it engineering? Is it sales? What is it? And then what are the goals and KPIs that you're going to use to ensure that strategy, that decision that you're about to make, which is going to be very expensive and time consuming, how do you know it's actually working, right? Those are the ideas you think about on the strategic axis. On the execution side, you have to get more granular. Okay, I've acquired this company. What does the planning calendar look like from the day I make the acquisition until the day that I actually can declare victory? What does the product roadmap look like with the two combined businesses? How do I measure performance and manage feedback loops within the newly acquired business? And what are the things that I do to mitigate risk so that I don't keep spending money but not having the kind of outcomes I'm looking for, as an example? Or maybe keeping people too long that don't belong with the combined entities. It could be the employees you hired in your existing company. It could also be the employees you acquired through the acquisition.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Thank you. As I mentioned, also just for the audience to clarify as well, you've been a great mentor for me. You've been a great teacher for me. So I appreciate all of the lessons that you're sharing with me and also with the audience here. So when it comes to, there are other examples. There is a company that I can't mention their name, and they've been acquiring companies. They're based in the region here. They're a regional company. They've been acquiring smaller companies because they want to build capabilities. But you touched on the consolidation of team and people and cultures, and looking at them and talking to some of their employees, it seems to me that they are not clear on how they can consolidate the cultures. There are internal clashes, which I think to some extent is making the company bleed and waste time. From your experience for a CEO that's within the situation, where should they start? Because now they have a mix of people. They don't know who they can listen to, who they can trust. There's so much noise. Yeah, the only thing they could do is hire someone, but even hiring someone from outside doesn't guarantee them succeeding at the consolidation, because it actually could cost them their job, and even they lose the main investment they made in the company.
Well, let me borrow a few ideas from my last response where we talked about strategy and execution. If we go back to the very fundamental concept of M&A, merger and acquisition, that concept assumes a few things. If it's a merger, is it a merger of equal companies? Because that sets up a certain cultural dynamic. Or is it an acquisition where a bigger company is buying a smaller company, a healthy company is buying a company that's maybe not so healthy? I think the two parties in the transaction have to be very clear what is actually going on. Historically, at least in my professional experience set, you very rarely actually see a merger of equals. And so this is why the mission, vision, and value statement is so important. If I'm acquiring you, one of the things that I would say very early on in the process is, this is an acquisition, right? Your company is being acquired and consumed within my larger organization. And the reason you want to be a part of that journey is because of the mission statement, the vision for success, the values of the company. You're actually going to buy in to those constructs. If you believe in them, my expectation, and I would actually say this, is how do you convey that to your employees, your junior level executives, all the way down to the janitor that cleans the office space that you occupy? So making that set of statements very clear at the front end is very important. It begins to set the tone for creating the operating model of these combined businesses, right? What's the structure? Are your executives still going to be executives when they come over? What are the accountabilities of the key executives within the company that's coming over to the bigger organization? How do we work together, taking ways that are going to obviously be different from the very beginning, and either bring them together, or you're just going to have to adopt the way we do accounting, for example. You're going to have to adopt the way we do hiring and firing. And then the next question is around capabilities. How are the capabilities going to be brought together so we get the very best of both sides? Does that make sense?
A big thank you to you, Ed, and to everyone tuning in. If you found value in today's minisode, make sure to subscribe so you can catch the next one. If you have a question you'd like me to ask Ed next time, please send it our way. You can either add your question within the comments section below or by filling out the form on the website. The link to the website is SAUS, which stands for Skill Up As You Scale Up, SAUS, leadership, one word, no hyphens.com. We're building Mentor together, one real conversation at a time. See you soon.